the comings and goings of everyday existence, cars have become an everyday necessity, and nobody knows it so well as we drivers. For business, for family chores such as shopping, picking up the youngsters after school, and all manner of community activities, for the pursuit of pleasure in our leisure time, cars provide us a personal, a private transportation system. Today's quality cars are miracles of engineering precision, superbly styled. But the most important provisions depend on us, our attitudes and skills behind the wheel. We drivers are responsible for the quality of our behavior in handling our cars. Now, every one of us, man or woman, old or young, is really two people. All of us come equipped with a so-called outer self that everyone can see. But likewise, down deep in our human nature, all of us are provided with a so-called inner self. It looks just like we do, only smaller in dimension. And nobody can see it. And most of all, nobody can hear it except ourselves, because it speaks in a wee small voice.
Hi, Joe. How does everything go?
Fine, little Joe, fine.
What did you say, dear?
Nothing, just mumbling to myself.
Not even a man's wife can hear the wee small voice of a man's inner self. Little Joe is the personal, the private property of Big Joe, a man's outer self who's behind the wheel. They're real buddies.
Well, stop mumbling then. You know it makes me nervous. Be wary, Mary. You know that makes Joe contrary.
Joe's wife has a wee small voice too. It is standard equipment on all human beings. That inner self who knows what's right from wrong and tries to keep us out of trouble. However, the wee small voice in all of us is too often lost amid the everyday traffic on our city streets. Someone will try to turn from the wrong position. And in a few seconds, the whole line of cars is thrown out of kilter. Or a pedestrian will suddenly dart out in front of a car, so the driver has to slam on his brakes. And one after another, the cars behind him have to do the same thing. Then, instead of waiting courteously for the situation to clear up, there is apt to be a great blowing of horns that only adds to the confusion.
Easy, Mac, easy. You know that won't do any good.
Small wonder the wee small voice has to shout on such occasions. Things can happen all of a sudden in our crowded cities, and we have to be ready for them with what is known as defensive driving. We have to give ourselves a margin of safety, so we won't have to worry about stopping on a dime.
Too close, Sally, too close. Now that's better. And have a look in the rearview mirror before we get to the place where we make our turn.
The safety margin behind is just as important as the safety margin ahead. Good drivers, like Sally and little Sally, make it a rule to start at least 2 blocks beforehand, getting into the right position to turn or stop. When somebody behind sees somebody ahead gradually working over to the right, for example, why, they naturally figure that somebody ahead is going to turn or stop.
Give her a wide berth, Harry, and keep out of trouble. That keeps us out of trouble, too.
Trouble, of course, is often unseen. That is why there are so many signs on our streets and highways. They are warning signals for unseen danger. Too many of us get to taking these signs with a grain of salt. And after a while, with so much salt that if we aren't careful, these warnings may lose their meaning.
Didn't you see that sign, Agnes?
Yes, of course I saw it.
Then slow down.
But there aren't any youngsters around now. I'm in a hurry with all the shopping to do.
Don't take a chance, Agnes. There might be just one youngster going to school late. Now, aren't you glad you could stop?
Little Agnes, I love you.
People driving thousands of miles every year, and especially cross-country, where the expressways, the parkways, the throughways, the freeways may not be familiar to them, learn to accept roadside signs as gospel truth. Most of the rules, of course, are just common sense, such as entering a stream of traffic so as to merge with it, such as using the inner lane only when passing, pulling well off the road in case of emergency. Never stop on a freeway. Never, never back up. Never, never, never make a U-turn. Whew, that's a privilege reserved for freeway police. On road trips, of course, after we've driven at a certain speed for a long time, it becomes second nature to increase our speed a few miles an hour. Then, after a little while, we may do the same thing again. In other words, we keep putting forward our basis of comparison until by and by we've lost our usual sense of how fast we're going. Then, the first thing we know, we are face to face with a sharp curve.
Slower. You might not make it. We almost went for a spill that time, Charlie.
Right you are, little Charlie. That curve back there brought you face to face with nature in the raw. Old man momentum. The fella with the one-way mind. He not only wants to keep you going, but going in the same direction. On a curve, he not only pushes you forward, but applies side pressure. He calls this grip on you centrifugal force, and with it, he tries to push you off the road. Man's speed laws may not always be observed, but nature's speed laws always are. No matter how long we've had a driver's license, we are all apt to fall into driving habits that don't quite measure up to what we know is right.
What am I doing poking behind that bird? He's only doing 35.
Better see what's behind first.
The coast is clear.
But not up ahead. Take it easy. There's a truck coming.
There isn't one of us who hasn't, at one time or another, moved over in the road to pass a car and then wondered if we'd get around it in time. The most important thing to remember when passing is that we're really passing a stretched out car. Learn the capabilities of your car and judge safe passing distances accordingly. In certain climates, we drivers have to adjust to a completely different set of calculations, just as we pedestrians do. Ice and snow means slippery weather, lack of friction between our feet and the sidewalk or our tires and the road.
Easy does it, George. Easy does it.
Lack of friction means lack of grip or traction. Good drivers do practically the same thing with their cars as they do on foot. They proceed cautiously on a slippery morning to get the feel of the surface.
Yes, easy does it, little George.
If we are as careful behind the wheel in slippery weather as we are in feeling our way on foot, we can adjust ourselves to the difference. Good drivers begin to slow their cars down at quite a distance from where they want to stop, releasing the accelerator pedal slowly. They press the brakes lightly at first and release them almost at once. Then they press again and release quickly. In this way, they do not leave the brakes on long enough or hard enough to lock the wheels. By a series of brief, moderate brake actions, instead of one continuous pressure, they gradually reduce speed and can usually stop without skidding. A turn or a curve can be dangerous too.
Whee! Here we go.
When a side skid does occur, good drivers turn the front wheels in the direction of the skid. This checks the side slip and helps bring the car under control. The dark of night always calls for special precautions.
The nerve of that guy. I'd like to give him my bright lights again.
Don't do it, Jack. Just because he doesn't extend you the courtesy of the road is no reason you should impair your own safety.
Taking chances, needless chances, is the major cause of accidents, endangering not only you, but your family too.
Wake up, Joe. Wake up.
It's only 50 miles to the next town. We'll make it.
We'll never make it that way. Eternity, maybe, but not the next town.
What did you say, Joe?
Nothing. Nothing, just mumbling to myself.
Little Joe,
Yes, little Mary?
please make him stop. We're all so tired.
Wow, that was a close one. To stop safely from 55 miles an hour, did you know it takes about the length of a football field? Listen, Joe, we're all so sleepy. Look, let's not take any more chances of overdriving ourselves. How about it?
Needless chances can destroy the greater enjoyment and satisfaction we get out of our cars for ourselves and our families. There's always tomorrow and the pleasure of happy motoring with our personal and private transportation system when we drivers follow the rules of the road that make our streets and highways safer for everybody.
So long. We'll be seeing you for safer and more pleasant driving.